Hey gang, Skitarii is here in Darktide and it looks sick and it plays amazing. It's by far the best class that they've added. Well, they've only added one before, but no. They've added two before. We've had Arbites, we've had Hive Scum, but Skitarii is by far the best one. So today, I just wanted to go through the character creation and looking at some of the lore of Skitarii and how well they visually compare and look up to. I don't know if I'll do a video going through the talent trees and how to build a Vanguard or a Ranger or a Rust Stalker, but yeah. I'll shut up so you can watch the prologue.
What is the meaning of this?
A message from Branks Minor? Curious. Gracious Omnissiah, reveal to me that which is hidden. Awaken that which is sleeping. Grant voice to that which is silent.
We're picking up all specs contacts in your area.
Yes, I know. We have received a boon from the Omnissiah. Omnissiah be praised, an Alpha Primus shrine. With so many Skitarii cohorts already fighting on Atoma, we should have no shortage of suitable volunteers for augmenting. Let the mysteries unfold. Praise the Omnissiah.
Actually grim. So, as with the other classes, you start by picking where you're from, your other stuff, and there are some fairly interesting stuff in here. The generic start to a Skitarii is vat grown, which is just it's legal cloning. Cloning is very heretical in 40k, but growing guys in vats is fine. I assume it's just like an IVF, but entirely in a vat. So technically it's not cloning, but it basically is. So, many and varied are the topics studied by the tech priest of the Adeptus Mechanicus. And then we have Thrall Spawn. For longer than records have existed, your family line has served the tech priest of the Forge World. So these are basically servants, and you're just from a long line of servants to the Mechanicus on a Forge world. This one's pretty cool. I do enjoy this little one because it's just like, oh, you've seen the experiments, you've seen the horrific things that they do to each other to upgrade themselves, and now you're one of them. You have ascended. So I think that's pretty cool. Omniscient Pilgrim is also a nice one. So this is a quite nice backstory. Your ancestors have fled Drukhari raiders from their home planet, but they never reached their destination. But they knew that their offspring would, which is you. So generations later, you arrived at a Forge world, and you were prepared to join the Machine God. I think this is quite nice, because, like, it just kind of, like, it's how a regular person, I suppose, would get into being a Skitarii, and maybe how, kind of like how the Jedi would go around collecting children, but more voluntary, I guess. And then Voidborn. If you've played Rogue Trader, you should know a lot about Voidborn. These are basically guys who are born in the void of a ship. Like, well, not the void of a ship, in the belly of a ship. So anyone who has never lived on a planet, more or less, they've just been born in a ship, they've never left the ship, and they are pretty much instantaneously, like, encultified within various cults in the ship, such as the Mechanicus. And then you have the sort of regular things like Highborn. So this is when you are a child of a Highborn house, but you're not close enough to the inheritance to be of any importance to the house. So you're not taught politics or, like, stratagems or, like, married for political gain, for example, but you are kind of volunteered as a sacrifice, but not really a sacrifice, to the Mechanicus. Manufactorum Rat is also quite good. I thought this was quite a sad one, because it's essentially you're just found as, like, a baby, I guess, in a box, in an ammo crate, in a factory on Gamma 4. It's kind of sad. It reminds me of that short story where they find a baby pig in the meat factory and then he takes it home and it turns into a Nurgle pig. I love that story. And then we have Forge Orphan. So this is, you are from a Forge world, you were orphaned, and you are just insanely fanatical because that's how you were brought up. You were basically born into the cult with no other options, no other point of view. So your pre-ascension is then what you grew up doing after that first thing. So you can be a censer bearer, for example. This is where the Mechanicus need, like, little guys to go around lighting candles, walking around with incense and oils and that sort of thing. And then you have a tech scholar. A tech scholar is someone who's more educated, so they will be schooled on principles of investigation, litanies of discovery, and then the doctrines of preservation and protection. There is a type of Skitarii called a protectorate, but I don't think there are any talents that kind of look towards that, but I'll cover them briefly anyway. A coil winder is, as it sounds, you're just a guy who wraps coil, like wire, around a bobbin forever. Like, that's your job. Same with furnace stoker. It's a very kind of as it is. You just keep the fires burning. That's your job. We love fire, so it's a good job to have, I guess. It would be very discomforting, I would assume, uncomfortable, but at least you're warm, I guess. Bolt carriers are essentially the same. So I didn't really see this much, but, like, the AdMech value unaugmented humans greatly. I don't think they do. I think they just see them as a resource that they can use up indiscriminatorily. So, I don't know, but that's pretty cool anyway. So these are all things before you get augmented, essentially. So a Scrivener's Attendant, again, like the tech scholar or the sensor bearer, I guess, more like, you're essentially just there to refill ink and bring scrolls to servitors that are writing everything down. And then a serf, which is just a servant. So even though tech priests have multiple brains, they still have other things to do, like lighting candles. I kind of don't really get the difference between a sensor bearer and a serf, and maybe a scrivener's attendant. Like, they all seem to kind of do very similar things. Maybe they're just in different rooms in the castle. So your first conflict that you can pick, these are quite cool. I do like these. So the Mobian Fringe Wars are basically what has happened on Atoma and in the Mobian sector before the games of Darktide starts. So if you pick this one, your first action saw you take the field alongside a cohort of Adeptus Sororitas from Crucius. I like this. I don't really like Battle Sisters, but it's kind of cool to have this, like, oh, they fought together. They're little friends, you know? I quite like that. The Fall of Outpost Chi Gamma 9. This is a fairly cool one as well. Rather than the Drukari from the Birth story, this is Eldar that attacked this planet, this outpost from Ulthwé, and it was kind of weird because, like, they'd never attacked there before, and everywhere was just destroyed, and then upon evacuating the planet, they destroyed the planet. So no more Ulthwé on Chi Gamma 9. Cult Contact is quite apt for this game because it's just like you were in a place where there was lots of cultists, and it does sound like Gene Stealers a little bit. But it could be any type of cult. It could be any type of chaos. Then Conflict 7 Alpha 332554998. So this is just you were deployed somewhere and there were some beastmen and there was a battle. A few battles. But this is quite a tame entry point, I feel like. The Data Wars. This is very AdMech. So this is just, you were sent to find some data, and there were battles, there were things to discover, and you were sent. This is also very tame. This is quite, like, it's not peaceful, obviously, but, like, it's very, like, not a lot happened, I guess. Nothing of interest to write down was happening, apart from we went to get some stuff. The Defense of Gaian 8. This is quite cool because it does mention Scorpius Dune Riders, which I think look insane. Well, not insane, but they look pretty cool. So maybe if we get a new mission in the future to do with AdMech, maybe we'll see some ruins of some. I do encourage you to pause to read these. I did enjoy reading all of these. The Sacking of Uxar Hive. So again, this one sounds like Gene Stealers. And considering how much Gene Stealers have been hinted at in this game, especially with, like, the Water Cartel guys from before with Swagger, this sounds like, maybe, I don't know. I just hope they're building towards Gene Stealer cults, man. I just want nothing else but Gene Stealer cults in this game. The Battle for Imbra Past. So this is with an Onaga Dune Crawler battery, and you're fighting Xenos. We don't know who you're fighting, but it's probably Chaos. The Omnissire's holy machine craft must be destroyed. So I imagine this is against Darkmech, potentially. That would be cool. That would be sick. So your rise to prominence is why you were promoted to an alpha, essentially. So you can be a sole survivor, you went on a mission, you were the last one who survived. It's quite sad because all communication lost to your tech priest superiors, your subroutines defaulted to their last set of instructions and you plowed forward. This is quite sad. With Skitarii, if you don't know how they work, you essentially get instructions from a tech priest in the ship above or wherever, and that can override what you actually want to do, and you can basically just be a remote control guy. So promotion for Valor is essentially what it is. You've just done a lot of missions, you've done all your objectives on these missions, you've done really well, you're a good soldier, and you've been promoted for it. Forge Guardian's pretty fun, in a horrifically traumatic way. So again, it's like that thing of you're not yourself as a Skitarii. You can just be taken over and be a remote control. So I will read this one just because I think it's the best one. Scarlet runes flooded your vision. Warnings clamored for attention. It seemed as if every system in your heavily augmented body had failed. Somehow your arms responded as if on their own, raising your radium pistol and unleashing a blinding projectile directly into the forehead of the approaching Ogrin. A follow-up volley hit home, guided by the burning flare of your shot. You continued to fire, picking out targets without conscious thought, letting your cranial cogitators bear the brunt of the action. As the sounds of battle fade, you regain access to your visual receptors, your finger still reflexively squeezing the trigger of your pistol, the ammo long run dry. It's so sad. It's just like, you didn't do that. That wasn't you. You were just being momentarily controlled by the cybernetics in your brain, or like the tech priest in the castle. Like, it's kind of like, damn. Protector of Knowledge. This one's quite fun if you like Votann. So this is about Votann. There's a strange relationship between the squats and Admech, because obviously the squats use AI. So here they're saying the squat Xenos thieves didn't know what they had. I don't know, they probably did. They probably wanted to use it for something. But then the Admech were like, these little guys are too dumb. We must invade and take it from them, because it's not safe. And it's like, is it really going to be much more safe in the Admech hands? Really? Behemoth Slayer is you killed a Forge Fiend. So I don't know if this is a power scaling thing, or I don't know. It sounds very Space Marine 2 in that 3 Space Marines brought down a Carnifex. And like, this doesn't say you were by yourself, but like, it must be so hard to have a Skitarii cohort take down a Forge Fiend. Like, that's insane. And it doesn't say anything about anyone else. It just says it locks onto you, and then you shoot it in the mouth and it explodes. It's very, very heroic. Sanctifier is quite interesting as well. There it was again, an echo, a whisper. It shouldn't be there. The whisper grew harsher, more insistent. It spoke in some archaic code, sibilant, discordant, at odds with the Omnissiah's song, the glorious rhythm that thrums through all his work. You isolate the malignant waveform. It crawls across your ocular display, refusing to be held. Your superiors must be informed. See, I don't know why you would get promoted for this, but this is by far the most interesting one, I feel like, because it's just kind of like, is something chaos happening here? Is he getting contacted by a warp entity, or like Darkmech have hacked into his system? Like, what's going on? That would be really interesting to like look into. Unless it's the Void Dragon talking to him and trying to get him to do stuff, I don't know. And then Alpha Exemplar, the Arch Heretic Gaind led a crusade of terror on the Shal system. So I think this is a Darkmech. I'm not sure. Probably. And then you killed him. So that's pretty cool. His foul warp-tainted machines, an affront to the Omnissiah. Sounds like Darkmech to me. There's so much Darkmech reference in this. Unless I'm just reading things wrong and it just means like chaos in some way. But there are so many Darkmech references in a few of these backstory things you can pick. And it's just like, wow. These sound cool. As someone who loves Darkmech, I love this. 10 out of 10. So then you can pick your Forge world. So obviously Mars is the default. Mars is very much like, the default red Admech that you see everywhere. These will be the most fanatical, and the only difference of Forge World you pick changes is what color clothes you can unlock. Then Riser is also a Forge World. This one is kind of more known for Titan forging. It has the name The Warmongers, and it has a very dark mechy background of fighting during the Heresy, so that's pretty cool. Styges 8 is very cool as well. I think I picked this one. The Ever-Staring Cyclops. There's not much known about this one. It's very, like, they keep to themselves a little bit. Purely because, like, you can kind of tell from their insignia, it looks a little Eldar to me, like the capital A in the middle. But they have a reputation for pursuing Xenos technology. which is really cool. I kind of hope that, well, I don't really, but like, I doubt, but in the new Purgation mission on Space Marine 2, there is an Admech's recordings that we can find. I kind of want him to be from Styges 8. Just because he's like, oh, I found this tomb, it's really cool. Oh, the tomb's alive, by the way. Oh, we've been told to leave, but I don't want to leave. I'm just not gonna leave? Cool. So I think he would fit in quite well. And then we have Branks. So Branks is the Forge world that makes Mobian steel that was created for Darktide, essentially. So we don't have too much on Branks, but it has this nice blue and white color scheme, and it looks kind of cool. And it is nice to have the option to be like, yeah, we're from this domain. We're fighting for one of the home planets, you know? So here on the customization, they look grim, man. They look so grim. But it's so cool to see, like, they have the eternal vigilance. They don't have eyelids, that's what that means. So then they can just see everything all the time. And their eyeballs have been basically replaced, or they have permanent goggles, I guess, to, like, keep their eyes intact. I don't like the ones that have the rebreathers on, but it makes sense. I just don't like it. I never like those cosmetics. And then you can see the red planet's dew as well. So this is basically, when they got to Mars or something, they ground their limbs to stumps on the dunes of Mars during the Age of Strife. It's very, like, dark, but, like, it's kind of cool they've included that instead of just like, you can do this if you want, otherwise you can have an intact guy. So it's nice that they kind of force that on you. The ocular lens hues, it's nice that you can change the colors. Generally, most Forge worlds just have blue eyes, like the palest blue one. But it's pretty cool that you can just customize that, obviously. Some things like Ruststalkers can tend to have like green or yellow eyes, or white, but they're generally blue. This is quite cool, I did like this. On both the arms and legs, you have these 1 to 6 or however many on the left side of the colors, and then the 2 color lines, so you can have each side of the body being a different color, and then the numbers on the right side, 1 to 5, are the depth of weathering that those limbs have. So 1 is like as clean as it can be, and then 5 is like super weathered. And you can see on the little color swatches what color it will be the more old or aged it is. So the browns have this like coppering green to it, and then the silvers have like a browny rust, and then the steel has just a darker silver to it. I think that's really cool. And then you can change the height. But I feel like if you were really short, they'd just give you longer leg stubs. Considering you never see this, because you're always wearing clothes or robes, the only thing that really changes how you look is the arms, the legs, and the eye colors. You don't see any of the rest of it, so it'd be cool if they add like a shirtless guy. Now I'll let you listen to the voices.
This world is falling, we are told. This one remains unconcerned. It matters only that enemies gather. All will weep. All will perish. There is no salvation for those who abhor the word of the machine god. Long ago, all understood this. This one will teach the lesson again and again and again. It is his purpose. You and I shall eradicate the corrupted ones together. We are all expendable. Slaughter brings completion. Logic demands that Hadron Omega 77 assume command of this war. All disharmonious units must be eradicated. Serve with rigor. Die fulfilled. Are we to accept further delay? As tertium crumbles and decays, let the motive force be restored to those orphaned from its embrace. Let the Omnisire gaze once more upon works long lost. Let what was once secret stand revealed. So was it spoken in whir and clamor, so shall it be again. Your combat precision is acceptable.
Shameful. Lifetimes it took to raise this wonder. Now it is gone, victim to folly and hubris. No more does the hum of the motive force sing citizens to sleep. No longer do the machine spirits murmur one to another. Lifetimes to raise, moments to destroy. 1,000 curses of rust and ruin upon those who did this. Their oils be blighted. My regrets. My receptors caught a measure of the Omnisire's song. It required contemplation.
This was a world of relics, now despoiled. For this affront we permit no mercy. The degradable warriors who failed to defend this wonder are as guilty for its ruin as the benighted soldiers of the traitorous Sixth. I may serve with them, but I will never trust them. I am death. You serve well, Vassal. Unlikely. It is the only outcome that matters. We bring death to the worshippers of the ruinous creed. Glory to the machine god!
Weakness must be excised. This is simple efficiency. Greatness is the consequence of the machine god's will. Nothing else matters. Retain utility and you need not fear. It remains. This was a world of relics, now despoiled. For this affront we permit no mercy. The degradable warriors who failed to defend this wonder are as guilty for its ruin as the benighted soldiers of the traitorous Sixth.
So now it's written your little thing. Yours might be different to mine, but this is what mine is. I think this is nice, and then you obviously name yourself some variation of fork, as is required. But yeah, the voices are really cool because you can change like the level of deep fry that it has. I really like that. That's very cool. I don't think any of the other classes have that. You just have a choice of like 3 or 4 voices, but that's pretty cool. Also, if anyone's interested in the Twitch drops, I will be streaming Darktide on Twitch. I do have drops enabled for this game. Not everyone does. You can only have them if you're in the creator program, which I am. So if you want to get some cool equipment for your Psyker, then come along. I should be live most of the time, otherwise my Discord is linked below. I also paint on Twitch and on here, so if you're interested in more of the hobby or any other Warhammer games or lore or anything, I try and cover most things.
Welcome to the Warland. The Emperor protects.
A certain amount of re-evaluation and recalibration is required to ensure that you are familiar with your purpose. Interrogator Rannick insists that this is done in the Psychanium, and we will humor him on this occasion. Report to the Psychanium. Once you have completed this sequence, you will take your place in the battle for Tertium. The precursors are in sore need of our support. They have not yet earned it, but we shall be generous.
Welcome to the meat grinder. Everything here may feel real, but don't worry, you won't get hurt. Not unless you anger Persephone. Don't be alarmed by my little puppets, but do shoot them, or hit them, a lot, with whatever weapon takes your fancy.
They won't feel it. They're not real. They exist only so that you can learn more about me and about the weapons you carry. Stay as long as you like. Stephanie likes the company and the taste of your bloodlust. Say what you must. You've come to learn, yes? The Psychonium is just the place. You can chain light or heavy attacks in any order. Chained attacks have different angles of attack and damage properties. Some weapons have a powerful special attack. Others have a special ability that changes their next attack. Pushing can stagger groups of enemies. Pushing requires stamina.
When will it
Sniper! Sniper! Sniper!
Dodging allows you to evade range fire and melee attacks.
attacks initially damage your toughness. Once your toughness is broken, they damage your health. Additionally, enemy attacks will stagger and stun you if you have no toughness. Killing enemies in melee replenishes toughness. Each nearby teammate also grants toughness regeneration. That marks the end of basic training. You are now ready to serve. Should you wish to further hone your knowledge, you can undertake advanced training. Use armor-piercing weaponry and attacks to damage armored enemies. You can perform a unique follow-up attack after a push. Medipacks and ammo crates can be picked up and deployed to aid your team.
Ammo crate!
Downed teammates can be helped up. Incapacitated teammates are captured by the enemy, but can be rescued. Corruption is caused by certain attacks, items, or being downed. Corruption reduces maximum health. If you are downed when the last segment of your health bar is corrupted, you are incapacitated, and health can be restored and corruption cleansed at Medicaid stations. Medicaid stations have limited uses, indicated by the glowing lights. Dangerous enemies can be tagged to alert your team. World markers can be placed to help coordinate your team's tactics.
Waypoint!
Sprinting helps avoid range fire. Crouching while sprinting performs a slide. Sliding helps evade attacks, similar to dodging. Closing with ranged enemies forces them to stop shooting and engage in melee combat. Ranged attacks cause suppression, making it harder to land accurate shots. Get out of the line of fire to restore accuracy. end of your advanced training. You now know everything you need to survive Tertium.
So that was the little training area bit. That's pretty cool. I did enjoy that. It shows you how you use your servo skull and you use your weapons. It only shows you the arc maul and the galvanic rifle. There are a few other weapons that have come with Skitarii, such as the phosphor pistol, which is insane. It's so good. And the transonic blades, which are also really nice, and there is also a Mechanicus power sword, and I think there's another rifle. It's another phosphor rifle, right? But it's pretty cool anyway. So then going over to the cosmetics in more depth, as in your clothes rather than your skin. So in the heads, you just have, these are the different colors from the different planets. So you have red for Ryza, you have the black for Stygia, and then you have all these cool helmets as well. I couldn't scroll down on him, so I couldn't really show the tops of the helmets, but it has like the classic AdMech helmets you can get from various penances. So that's really cool, because there are obviously multiple types of Skitarii, like Rangers, Vanguards, Rust Stalkers, and Infiltrators. There aren't any Infiltrator hats, but maybe we'll get some eventually. Maybe they're too unhuman. Would require decapitation. Same for the jackets, you have all of the colors for the worlds, and then you have some nice looking ones as well, with some little neck scarves and some extra little details. That looks very cool. I always like reading the flavor text for all of them. I didn't go through all of them, but feel free to have a little pause through as I click through them a little bit. Then on the trousers, you have the same sort of thing with all the colors, and you can obviously unlock more with penances. I think the helmets are the most interesting ones with the flavor text. So this is the deluxe helmet from the deluxe version of the DLC. So bearing a stark resemblance to the sinister garb of Sicarian rust stalkers, multiple eye lenses and heavy-duty breathing filters mark this out as ideal for deep infiltration missions. You look like an elephant. I think it's pretty funny, but it's pretty cool. I do like this. I don't know if I'd say he looks super like a rust stalker, but oh no, he does. And rust stalkers are known for being the most elephant looking. It's also worth noting in terms of weapons, something the rust stalkers are known for is something called a cord claw, which is basically a hand with long spiky fingers. And it's a transonic weapon, and it's one of the abilities that you can pick on your talent tree. So I think that's pretty cool. And then looking more deeply into the helmets that we know from minis, and I wasn't really expecting too much of in this game, but it's nice to see them. It has that like crest you can't really see on top, and it just looks so good. And then the second version, which is just sort of more colored, and no. And then we have the Vanguard helms as well. These are pretty cool. The backpacks are huge. I don't think they all wear backpacks, but the backpacks in this game are ridiculously big. I know they all wear backpacks, like, on the minis, but I feel like on the minis they're not this big. They're so, like, lumbering and, like, archaic looking, but it's nice as a little thing, I guess. But you can't take it off, but I don't know. It looks cool anyway. And then your servo skull. So your servo skull in this game is fairly cool. As you saw from the little tutorial thing I let you watch through, you have a las pistol on the servo skull, and it can do various things for you. And in your talent tree, you can have the option, it's one of the green circles, to have two, where one of them can go off to like revive a teammate if you can't get to them, or if you're in the middle of a fight and you can't get them in time. And you can also get a version where you can send it to a location and it will just spin in a circle shooting fire, which I think is pretty cool. So yeah, there's a couple of versions of these. This one's a very classic one that there's been like art for that we've seen before, and they look very cool. I'm not quite sure of the one with the brazier on top. I think it looks kind of goofy, but I wonder if it'll help with the shadow of the shadow missions where you have low visibility, but I feel like it won't. It's just decoration. So yeah, that was the customization of Skitarii. I'll put up some like images of... no. So that was kind of like the intro to Skitarii. I really like Skitarii as like a lore thing. I think they're really cool, and I hope you enjoy playing him. I've played him a fair bit now in early access, and now obviously he's out today. So if you want to come play, if you want your Twitch drops, I will be probably live, otherwise Mystery will probably be live. And I will see you later. If you like painting, I also do painting tutorials on my second channel. They're not up yet, but it's my birthday soon, so I was gonna kind of line up making things live with that. And yeah, thank you for watching, TYTY, and see ya.